Hey guys, welcome back to Seller Sessions Tuesday afternoon. Most of the industry is at Prosper. My visa didn't come through, so I'm not there this week. So you're stuck with me with a couple of shows this week. One tomorrow I'll do on Prosper. I'll invite a few people in. But today what I'll do is I'm going to talk about how to calculate and choose the right keywords to rank with your Amazon PPC. I'm just going to allow a few people to come into the room, and then we'll obviously get started. Just to wait for a few more. I'm just going to share out to the groups, and yeah, we'll get started in a minute or so. Okay, starting to get a few people in now. Cool. Anyone got any questions, let me know. And let's check in the comments here. Yeah, if you've got any questions before I start, let us know. But otherwise, I'm going to get going. Jacob Topping, we miss you, Danny. MGM Grand Pool Deck, 8:90 a.m. I think he means 8:50 a.m. Thank you, Jacob. I hope you guys are having a good time there in Vegas. All right, so what I'm going to do is going to get started with this. Now, we've got a few people here. So this is called how to choose and calculate the right keywords to rank with Amazon PPC. So first thing is, don't make this fatal mistake. Never, ever use search terms that do not appear in the brand analytics report. And the reason I say this, because effectively you're completely wasting your time. All the data that's been done in the background on it, nearly all the search terms that do not appear in the brand analytics report have 10 or less searches per day in the US market. So that would be even worse in big markets like Germany and the UK. So please be aware of that. We're not talking just about the long tail here in terms of embedding words like search phrases and stuff in your listings. Even then, you don't really want to be looking at stuff with less than, 300 or 400 searches, even on a super long tail. You want to make them as relevant as possible. Yes, long tail helps. We know this. There's no dispute in that. But when it comes to ranking keywords, do you really want to rank something that's got 20 impressions a month? It might look good as you go to the page for vanity, but it's not going to generate any sales for you. Let me just check if I've got any questions here. No, we'll move to the next part. So whatever third-party tool that you're using, start by washing that data against brand analytic and then dump the junk. And what I mean by that is, you could use 2 or 3 of the big tools out there, which are fantastic. But if you take your brand analytics report and wash that against those, you'll probably find that, the keywords that are actually in the brand analytics report, let's just say one tool spits out 100 keywords that you could possibly use, or 50. You might find that there's only 10 or 12 of them that are relevant to you in brand analytics. So just be aware of that in terms of your targeting. So let's get started with ranking with Amazon PPC. So if your PPC is a competitive conversion rate and generates enough orders, it will definitely boost your organic ranking. If you go back to the show I did on A9 breaking down the algorithm last week, there's a lot of information there which relates back to what we're doing today. So here shows each bar represents 1 week of data. In the left column, we see the average organic rank. Where the smallest bars show rank 1, it's as good as it's going to get, which is position number 1. You can see that the ranks move quickly towards rank 1 over the first month ago. So you can see in that first column, organic rank as it starts to scale down. So from week number 8, each of those bars represent 8 weeks in total. In the remaining columns, we see impressions, orders, and spends. So you can see impressions, 238,000 for the top one, 45,000 for the second, 35 for the third, with orders of 219, 73 and 97 respectively, with a spend in the top one, which is pretty low when you consider ranking with keywords on a launch is 1,581, 586 and 582. Now you can see that most of these are trending upwards and possibly plateauing after the first month or so. So the next part of this is that your listing should be very well optimized. This conversion rate plays a massive factor in success. as a bad conversion rate will become a hindrance to your organic rank, pulling you underwater every time you send non-converting traffic. Takes me back to the show last week. Negative and positive labels. A9 has negative and positive labels. It's just important for Amazon's algorithm to understand what isn't working than what is working, because they don't want the search pages to look like a flea market, as I described in last week's show. The other thing we've got to look at is conversion works on a continuum. The algorithm's a multifaceted view of a conversion rather than what is read as a sale. When the customer clicks on your product, you're effectively getting a micro conversion credit on that query. If the customer spends time on your product page and does not bounce off, you're getting another micro conversion. The more time spent on the page, in principle, the higher engagement. And when the customer adds the product to a cart, again, another positive signal. Which, when you think about carts and the cart abandonment, it's funny our website's toughest metric is to manage is cart abandonment, whereas Amazon uses this as a strong signal in the continuum to a conversion. Whilst this is very basic breakdown, you can see the conversion process is on a continuum rather than a static object. Just want to check if we've got any questions. No, we're all good at the moment. Okay, going back in. So to do this yourself, the ideal setup is one keyword, one ASIN, one campaign. Now, if you've done this numerous times, then you can do multiple campaigns here. But if this is your first time, just as an example, one keyword, one ASIN, one campaign. So isolating like this means that you can measure top of search on a granular level. And for sponsored products, top of search placement statistics are on a campaign level. So going back to the algorithm again, the ranking algorithm compares different factors. Here are two of them. You've got here is the order history and the conversion rate for a specific product listing and that said keyword. This is then compared to all of your competitors on the same keyword. If you get a higher conversion rate through PPC sales, then you're gaining points on both of these metrics. If what we have seen in-house makes sense to what we've seen, is the relevance from this will also give you a boost. Now let's look at quickly problems with ranking high velocity products. This comes back to ranking algo again. There are only so many ad position placements worthy of eyeballs, which we know page one is pretty much everything. Once you get off to page two, it starts to become irrelevant and there's far less conversions. So for a high velocity keyword with established ASINs that are already converting, it can be extraordinarily difficult to break in and get any impressions. Even with a phenomenal conversion rate, this is why you hear people bidding $20 a click without getting any impressions. Depending on your stamina, if you keep going over time, Amazon's algo may determine to favor your campaign. But there's no telling how long all that will take or how long that will be. It could be that one or more of your competitors go out of stock, and which gives you a boost up by you being able to step in to the void. So what is the answer? Is there a special calculation? Well, the answer is yes, no, and a bit of common sense. So if we just break down what this is here on the graph here is showing you K1 is keyword one and P1 is placement one, and in the top section there in brackets are 1,000. So what I've tried to do is give you some extreme numbers so you can see the variables in between. So K1 is keyword one. This is a high velocity keyword. Ad position number one would say do 1,000 units a day. Position number two would do 500 units a day. Position number three does 250 units a day. Now there's a lot of units to shift on a new listing per day. But if you're not calculating anything, then you're not going to really understand the whys and wheres of how to achieve this. Now, we know 1,000 units is an extreme. I'm just trying to give you the opposite end of the extreme. So if we look at keyword number two, position number one, 50 units a day. Position number two, 25 units a day. Position number three, 10 units a day. And position number four, 5 units a day. Now, when we look at keyword two, in terms of being realistic with a new listing, position number 4 with 5 units a day looks like the low-hanging fruit of these two options, right? So with these data points, how many orders a day can a top of search placement generate if we express with a 20% conversion rate. So to get this to position number 4, you might aim for at least 5 orders a day. If your conversion rate is 20%, that may mean 5 orders divided by conversion rate is equal to 25 clicks. If the cost per click is $5 for that position, it will cost you $5 divided by conversion rate, which is equal to $25 per acquisition on average, or $125 per day. Which comes back to the point of gaining impression share and the cost of running expensive top of search campaigns. And usually a market that is red hot generally will have a higher cost per click. So how do we launch with PPC and then taper off, knowing where our numbers land for break even? Well, it's not very easy. There's a series of options that you can look at here. Well, there's multitude, but they all come with their own pros and cons. Either way, you need to pick your poison. So adjusting the bid out of the gate will almost certainly affect the ad placement. But, if you're talking about putting back, start putting back on the daily budget versus decreasing the bid. As I said, as this may affect the ad position there. At least with the budget caps, your campaign will run in most cases, but you'll lose advertising for the rest of the day after your budget is burned through, right? Sounds logical. But what about if we look at a hybrid version? So twice a day, this is manual. It's a pain in the arse. You get a VA to do this unless you've got the technology to do it. Twice a day, manually adjust the top of search boost in your campaign. So just to give an example, you can make adjustments for yourself here. So start with, say, 900%, and then 12 hours later, drop it to 0. If that makes economic sense, because then you're making the adjustment within that day to meet the budget requirements, right? So this is going to take time to really zone in on that. So what you would end up doing is you'll play around with these factors. You find the sweet spot and get your ranking costs under control as you taper off over the 6 to 8 week period. So ranking with PPC in summary: competitive conversion rate and orders matters. Highly optimized listing, of course, really matters. Your conversion rate is on a continuum, which is engagement, add to cart, clicks, and is not a static object. Setting up a campaign, be one keyword, one ASIN, one campaign for top of search reporting. We're focused in and around the ad placement algorithm. High velocity equals harder to get impressions. Go for the mid-tail keywords based on ad placement position, and work out how is the best way to taper off for break even. Okay, let's just go back in. Cool. Right. Does anyone have any questions? Let's bring this up. Hi, Danny. Where is cart abandonment seen as a positive by Amazon? Good question. Right. So we're not talking about cart abandonment that Amazon sees as a positive. What I was saying, and maybe I wasn't clear in the presentation, is that normally a third-party website, is biggest trouble is cart abandonment, right? So they're set up because of the amount it costs to push them down the funnel. Then they leave. Then they want to use emails and various different tools to bring them back, right? So effectively, what Amazon sees as a warm conversion or a part of the continuum is a really strong signal of intent is add to cart, which is ironic when you think is that all the time that is spent on your website, add to cart, cart abandonment is where you're really focused in. So we're looking at a micro conversion here, like spending time on page, and adding to cart is not as good as a conversion as we know, but it's quite up there. It's one of the highest signals that we see when we look at the science literature that is available on A9. So hopefully I've answered that. That's pretty much it today. If you've got any questions, just let me know. Leave them in the comments. Drop me an email, danny@sellersessions.com. I'll be back here tomorrow. We're going to be doing a roundup from Prosper. Okay, so let me have a look. Another question here. Can you see a win later with PPC if a listing was badly launched, i.e. poorly optimized and dodgy images, and then improve later? Well, if you look at the campaign history, if you come out the gate with a shitty looking listing and you could have converted better, say it converts at 5%, but a highly optimized listing, it converts at 20%, then that campaign history is going to have an impact going forward once you do optimize the listing. So before you run PPC, you should make sure your listing is fully optimized for the best outcome of those results. Doesn't mean you can't recover and improve that, because what you can do is you can just dump that campaign with the campaign history of the 5% conversion and just start a new one and build up the campaign history. That's another way of getting around it as well. But ideally, like anything, you want to, you can't polish a turd. So from the start, you want to get things right. Cool. So you got any more questions before I go? Is that it for now? Cool. Thank you guys for joining us today. Again, I'll be back here tomorrow. Take care of yourself and your family. Much love. Speak then.